So, I'm not doing so good. I woke up at 5 this morning, horribly seizing and shaking. Even though there was heat on, it wasn't enough for last night. So I blasted the heat, turned on the heat with the remote, by the way. I can't walk in that condition, so I have a remote so I can put the heater on me in the morning. Spent 2 hours in front of that heater stretching all the way to now. From 5 to about 7:15, I just sat in front of that heater blasting, moving my body. I got dressed, I put on 2 layers of pants. I had a long sleeve shirt and a t-shirt over that long sleeve thermal shirt as I slept. After doing my stretches and waking up a little bit, I keep a sweater and a bunch of gear near my bed, so I threw on the sweater over this thermal and t-shirt. Then I throw on a heavy sweater over that. And then I took my winter heavy insulated, jacket that's the most insulated jacket you can get without a heater in it. I put that on top of these sweaters. I throw on my boots and I do a couple more stretches before trying to go outside to test the weather and see how my legs do with a small flight of stairs. I get down the flight of stairs, it's cold in the hallway. I'm cold, but I'm able to walk. I get outside and I don't even make it 30 seconds before I'm on the ground shaking. At that point, I try to make it back inside with lots of difficulty. I just made it back in. I'm now in front of a heater again. I'm now in the heated bathroom, trying to get my bearings back. But it's August. It's August at 7 in the morning. If I'm seizing right now, what's it gonna be like at 7 in the morning during winter? What would it be like if I was in a shelter trying to move in the morning from a bed in the shelter and they're telling me to go outside? I'm gonna get stuck on the middle of sidewalks, on the middle of the woods. People are gonna harass me, they're gonna hurt me, they're gonna probably throw me out of places and put my life in the more danger. And I just have a disability. That's why. That's why I'm going to pass away. That's why I'm going to continue getting more injuries that are permanent. Because I have a disability. I have a neurological condition and I have seizures. And they've been happening for 25 fucking years. But here's the problem. Somebody tried to make sure that nobody would ever hear about it. My adopted mother and my father didn't want to take responsibility for their actions, so they decided to dodge the question every single time it was brought up at the doctor. If the doctor was catching on and started talking about problems with moving my body and coordination issue, my mother would put me in ballet, stop seeing that doctor, move me, and that was it. If I was talking about how I, experienced this horrible event at age 7 and my body changed for the rest of my life, she would tell me it's an allergy, stop talking about it. She would tell that to the doctor, and that would be the end of it until I went back to the doctor and brought it up again. But each time I was brought to a doctor, it was a different doctor and different doctor and different doctor. As well as keep in mind that most of these doctors are psychological doctors, they're not physical doctors. So they'll just say something like, well, it could be an allergy for the medication. Let's go up on this, give you this, and give you this, without even looking into the issue. After 25 years of this, it's getting much worse. So I'm going to record my death. I'm going to keep on recording what happens to me. In the next couple weeks, things are going to get real bad. My roommate has decided to run away in 5 days. I'm not quite sure what's going on. He hasn't given me answers if he's coming back, if he's paying his half of the rent, or what. It looks like he's not going to be paying his half of the rent. It looks like he's not going to cancel any of the bills beforehand. Doesn't look like he's going to change over the electric or the internet before he leaves. So I might get my doctor cut off too, because I see my doctor over the Wi-Fi and the electric. I mean, obviously the Wi-Fi runs off the electricity. So if my power gets turned off, I call them and have the money ready, and I tell them, hey, I need you to turn back on my power. I have the money, but I need it put into my name, because the person and his name is no longer here. Then that's going to be like a whole week process, and I can't go see my doctor then or get any of my medications. I won't be able to get my seizure medication. I won't be able to get anything. So this is going to get much worse really quick, but I'm praying to God for strength, and I'll record and give check-ins so you guys can see me die slowly. By the end, though, I won't be able to use a phone, so everything will be recorded on my offline devices. That's a SIM card where I can just press one button as I'm shaking on the ground, so you can hear the people torture me, so you can hear them do whatever to me as you. I'm also going to be secretly recording everything that happens to me on the streets and in the shelter so you can hear why I'm dying. But just keep in mind this all was caused by a neurological disorder that's been going on with me for 25 years. And if you think, well, that's no big deal, you just go to the hospital and get it treated. That's the case if other people haven't meddled in your health. If you have relatives that spent 15 years covering it up, if you have relatives that spent 15 years making up stories about you, then it's very, very difficult to get help with a neurological disorder and seizures. It's much different. It's not the same for me as other people with seizure disorders because they didn't have my family, they didn't have my background. You gotta know what happened in the past to know what to do in the future, and what happened to me in the past is fucked up shit. I was made disabled, and then they covered up what they did, and they used that to try to get Social Security. And I don't collect Social Security. I've tried several times, but the situation I'm put in is impossible. If you're literally moving and have no mailing address and no phone, it's almost impossible. As well as I have other factors to count on too. Like the last time I applied for Social Security 8 years ago, I was using a mailing address. I had a friend who said, "Oh, just get your mail sent here." So I did. I got my mail sent there. Didn't seem like a big issue. Well, the letter got held by BBP Realty. This realty company had the mailboxes in their office, not in the building. The mailboxes were in the office. My friend was going down, checking his mail, coming back, nothing, nothing, nothing. I find out I missed my court date. I said, how is that? I'm going down to the Social Security office every week or two. I'm asking about it every single week or two. And I have a mailbox now where you guys can send me mail. How could that be? They tell me they sent me a letter. I checked, there's no letter. I find out 2 months later that BBP Realty held my mail illegally. They tampered with my mail. They held it without notifying the tenant, me, or Social Security that they were holding this mail. Then they brought that to a court case, took photocopies of it, and used it to evict my friend. Meanwhile, I had no idea that they were holding my mail illegally. Neither did Social Security, neither did the tenant or the person that was getting the mail. And I wasn't told that I wasn't allowed to get mail there. I was getting mail just fine. I never had a problem getting my mail at any given time there. But this time, apparently, they wanted to fuck me real good. They probably just wanted to make a big issue for this person they were evicting. I'm not sure. But I got hurt in the process. So you got to keep that in the factors. When I'm living on the streets again, or if I'm living in a shelter, if I'm having seizures on the side of the road, or if I'm in the woods unconscious, I'm not going to be able to get mail for Social Security. I'm a disabled individual who's severely disabled. I mean, I seize to the ground, cry, and end up in pain on the ground. And then I have a seizure, my head gets slammed and fractured, and I wake up with twisted ankles and all that. And this happens every single time there's a cold breeze. When I lose my apartment, all because of all this stuff going on, I mean, I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to work a full-time job, what I am. I'm willing to pay my rent. I'm willing to pay any bills that come my way. But when I'm injured for 2 months, when I have a seizure, or if I get a GI infection, or something happens like I get hit by a car, I'm out of work for 2 months. I have no income. So then I have to play catch up for 2 months. But the problem with that is if I'm injured for 2 months like I've been, I just went back to work last week. I'm playing catch up. I already made a deal with the landlord. I already talked to him how I'm going to pay $200 a week. Within 3 to 4 months, you'll have all your money, your forward rent, your back rent, everything. As well as I'll keep up the bills here with the rest. I'll keep up the toilet paper, the electric, everything else with the rest. Well, that's not going to work now because my roommate's just running away without telling me a single damn information of what's going on. He hasn't given me any information to work on. The landlord, I have nothing to tell him. If he asked me where's David's half of the money, I'd say, oh, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, he didn't tell me. He went into the hospital, and I don't know if he's coming back or leaving permanently. I don't know if he's going to ever pay you again or not. I don't know what's going to happen with the electric. I don't know what's going to happen with the internet. His worker isn't working with me or telling me anything. Nobody's telling me anything, so I have no idea. Dave's supposed to leave on Monday in 2 days, and I still have no idea what the hell is going on. Nobody is telling me. I've asked. What is going on? What am I telling the landlord? All I've got for an answer is tell the landlord I'm in the hospital. Okay. And then when he asks, well, how about the rent? How is he coming back? What's going on? And he has no answers to give me. He's just said, well, that's none of his business. That's none of your business. Well, the landlord's going to want his half of your half of the rent. You're on Social Security. That doesn't go away just because you're in the hospital. Doesn't get you out of that. And I can't tell that, Dave, that you're just in the hospital and that means you get a free pass on your rent. Absolutely not. When I get hurt and I end up in the hospital, I have to play catch up with the landlord. I have to make a deal with him and tell him, okay, I'll pay whatever I owe on top of what I owe in the future. And I've done this several times after my seizures. I get hurt a lot. Being permanently disabled and not having it treated will get you hurt a lot. And that's thanks to my father and mother. They're the reason why I've been getting hurt for 25 years. They're the reason why I've been in pain for 25 years. They're the reason why I can't get proper medical care in 25 years. And do they care about this? Do they want to have a discussion about it? Absolutely not. That would be too hard because then they might have to take some responsibility for their actions or even believe me. Even though there's plenty of evidence. This isn't like you have to believe it or not. This is something what is right in front of you. I mean, if they just spent a year going through medical records or talked about how bad this is or spent the time, it's real. I mean, come on. I mean, I got scars all over my face. I'm bruised. I end up being twisted. I have to play catch up. I spend all my days off at the doctor's office. I've taken hundreds of emergency room visits. They found me unconscious, frozen. They found me with head injuries multiple times. In Lowell, they said I had a seizure. Up here, they said so they have plenty of records that I've had seizures. They just don't know the cause of these seizures. But I know when it started was age 7 with a handful of pills. That information I know is true. Now, what happened that night? I was given a handful of pills. I ended up losing the ability to see, feel, walk, and talk. And then my breathing slowed down and I went unconscious. And then when I woke up, my nervous system was never the same. So, whatever that means, I don't know. But that's when it started with that night. And ever since, it's been getting worse and worse every year. And every 4 years from age 7 on, I was getting a seizure. Then every 3 years, then every 2 years, then every 1 year. Now I've had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the last year. So they're getting closer together, more frequent. And the triggers are any temperature below 50, flashing lights, touch, loud screeching noises like forks on plates, alarms, things like that cause it. And if you combine the 3 of these, like touch, lights, and noise, or cold, lights, and noise, it triggers it. Like when I was on the side of the road walking home at nighttime, you had the lights from the car light, the headlights going past me. We had the cold weather. It was winter. And I'm walking on the side of the road. And then I had the noises of the cars going by. You better believe I had a seizure that night. I sure did. And I woke up on the side of the road. And I had to spend a whole hour trying to get walking again and get home. I had no way to call an ambulance. Nobody was stopping their car to help me. And I already almost had my head run over. So, yeah, this is horrible stuff to have to deal with, and it's going to kill me. And I realize I'm not going to get the proper medical care I need. I'm not going to get Social Security in time to save my life. Nobody's coming to help. And my father isn't going to take any responsibility for his actions when it comes to this. He'll just try to blame me. He's very good at saying, I'll take responsibility. It's all your fault. That's all he really does. He'll come up with one thing to pick on out of my life and then make that all the problems of my life. Oh, everything is this one little thing. Oh, every problem you've had in your life has to be the drugs. Every problem you had in your life has to... No, no. I mean, there's plenty of doctors that were going over this way before I was 10 years old. And if I was doing drugs before 10 years old, then that's your fault. No 7-year-old should be drug or high. And no 7-year-old goes to a dealer and gets high. No. My mother was giving me drugs and getting me high at age 7. I mean, I was all fucked up. There were many times where I was fucking stoned out of my mind and I was only like 11 years old. I would take these pills that my mother told me to get and I would be out like a light or I would just feel all fucked up. There was many, many events of this. And now that the hardship is here, now that I've spent 25 years working on this, now that I'm one of the strongest individuals that exist and I'm going through some serious shit, does he want to have a conversation about why I'm dying, why I have scars on my face, why I'm so injured, why I go to the emergency room for seizures all the time? No, what he wants to do is he wants to hang out with his neighbors, sit on a beach, get drunk, and completely ignore his family. And that's pretty much the same type of treatment I got when I was 7, 10, 15. Didn't matter the age. My mother would be doing something crazy, or something would be wrong with my health, or something would be going on. He would stay out of it. He would let my mother just put me in ballet. He would let my mother just shove pills down my throat. Or like one time I ate a mushroom outside, and she was going to give me Epicac to make me vomit to get the mushroom out of me, right? Well, this is where she went nuts. She decided she was going to give me extra as a punishment. Extra Epicac. Now, what I mean by extra is like quadrupled the regular dose. So where the dosage says maybe give 1 ounce of Epicac and mix it with water to induce vomiting, my mother decided to pour like the whole bottle in an 8-ounce cup right to the rim and give it to me. And then she also, I think, was running water just to make noise. She had the sink running as well. I remember her having the sink running, but she didn't run the cup under the sink. She didn't have any water in there. And she poured way, way, all the way up. She told me to drink it all. And she admitted to this. This isn't like something I just came up with. This has been going on for years. I've talked about this in front of doctors and workers and in front of my father, and she said this statement. Yeah, I gave you extra Epicac. I gave you extra. And I don't care who knows. The extra was for a punishment. That's why I gave you extra, is it was a punishment. Now let me make it very clear. You don't ever give extra medications to anybody for any reason. There is no good reason to give extra drugs to your child or an adult. There's no reason to give them extra. If they say take 1 pill, you take 1 pill. You don't give your child 5 pills. If they says take 1 ounce of Epicac, you give 1 ounce of Epicac, not the whole bottle. You don't try to fill up an 8-ounce cup with it. But she admitted to doing this, and she didn't care who knew. And she admitted this in front of family members. She admitted it many times, just not in front of doctors. If she did in front of doctors, it would have been a big deal. She just dodged the question when I brought up this one in front of doctors. Just like when I brought up the overdose at age 7 that caused this neurological disorder and caused all this pain I'm feeling right now and caused the seizure when I was only about 3 seconds away from a seizure out front. I only was out there for 30 seconds. But by the end of the 30 seconds, I was about to lose the ability to walk back up the stairs. So I had to kind of like walk, crawl. When I got to the steps, I would kind of use my knees on the steps to get up sometimes. It's horrible. It's horrible. Well, after a seizure, sometimes I have to crawl around like a child too, because they're not going to give me a wheelchair, even if I can't walk. because they want to test it. They want to push me down a flight of stairs and see if I try to catch myself. That's how they test if this is real or not. They just get me hurt, and then they go, oh, well, I guess it's partly real. Oh, the seizures are real. All this is real. They've been seeing it for so long, but they don't know that doesn't make any sense with my medical records. Thanks to my mother trying to cover her track, I can't get proper medical care because people lied to the doctors. I had people lying for 15 years to the doctors about me, trying to establish a made up case so they could get money to relieve themselves. It was financial relief, it was so she could get attention, it was also so they had a plan when I was 18. That way they could have their retirement and I would have an income. And it's not a bad plan except for I have to be disabled. And as time went by, I was just a normal kid, except for at age 7 when I was given that overdose. That gave me a permanent neurological disorder where I shook, had seizures, had problems moving my body, and I had problems talking after that day. I still have it till today. I can still feel this taser-like feeling going through my body every day of my life since then. It's getting worse. And did she stop there? No. Then she tried to give me more pills to try to get me to go to get depressed, suicidal, up, down. At one time I was on like anywhere from 10 to 14 pills. That's the most though. That's the most I was ever on. Usually it was 7 to 9 every single day. From age 7 all the way to 19, I was on 7 to 9 pills every day. And also keep in mind my mother was throwing in extra pills. She was giving me extra medications. She wasn't being responsible with these drugs, so there's all different types of things that went wrong. And now I have to pay the price, and I'm going to record my death step by step. Each seizure, you're going to hear about it. Now, I can't dial a phone during my seizures, but you'll hear me talk about how much pain I am probably an hour or two before I have them. Then you'll hear me when I get out of the hospital talking about how I had the seizure. I'll take pictures of the paperwork. I'll take pictures of my injuries. That way I have a record. That way if somebody goes, you never got injured, you never had your face black and blue, I can show them the picture and say, really? Then what the fuck is this? Oh, well, we didn't know about the picture. You don't know shit. That's your problem. People think that they know everything about everything. You don't. The only thing you know about is your own body. I know myself. I know my body. I know what's going on in my life. But do I know what my father's childhood was like? No. Do I know where he is right now? No. Do I know if he's drinking and driving? No. I have no idea what he's doing or what his life is like. Just like my father and his third wife have no idea how much I'm suffering. They just assume that it's easier for them to ignore it.